Welcome to another Down the Rabbit Hole video. I'm doing another food video, and this one's kind of a request. Now, what I'm doing here is I'm basically comparing different types of salt. Why? Well, I had a lot of positive feedback when I compared men's and ladies' deodorant, and what I've got here is a variety of different kinds of gourmet salts that I'm curious to know, kind of like with the deodorant video, do they really make a difference? So I'm going to give them a try. Now, this is actually inspired by one of my subscribers. His nickname on there is Salt of Petra, which I looked up. I was like, I know I've heard that term. I think it's an old alchemy term for like Greek saltpeter. And I thought, yeah, salt is kind of a neat one. That's a theme or a video I've wanted to do for a while. So when he said, what's your next food adventure? And he's got salt in his nickname, I thought, yeah, we'll do a salt video. This is actually inspired by Alton Brown, who used to be on the Food Network, and he would constantly, in his videos, use kosher salt. And I always thought to myself, I don't know a lot about what makes things kosher, but I don't know how you can make salt kosher. And I actually asked a Jewish friend of mine, because I was like, I think from what I recall, the origin of it is something to do with how a rabbi blesses a knife used for slaughtering the animal or something like that. And I asked my Jewish friend, and he said, yeah, you're actually somewhat correct with that. I mean, it's used in a lot more terms now. But that's sort of, I think he said, the origin. And I said, okay, so how can salt be kosher? I don't really understand that. And he said something that kind of echoes what I've read online a lot. I don't know exactly why it's called kosher salt, but I know it's a very thick granulated one here, and it's used a lot by chefs like Alton Brown because it's very easy to pinch, and because of the way it stacks up, you don't need to use quite as much of this salt compared to regular table salt in order to get the same amount of salty flavor. So that's how kosher salt kind of worked its way into the equation. What are these other ones, you're asking? Okay, well, I'm going to have to cheat by looking at the stuff behind me. So we got table salt here, we got kosher salt here. This one is sea salt. This one, now let me just get my little guide. This is Brittany Gray, which is a French salt that not a lot, it came in this little fancy packet here of different kinds of salt. And it just says it's a French salt with a moist texture that reveals the elements of the ocean's minerals. So I guess it's a very, like the sea salt, it's very, it's got a sea influence. Next to that, we have Himalayan Sunded, basically Himalayan coarse salt. Now, I don't think this actually has much in the way of a distinctive flavor. I think it's just a healthier alternative to regular old table salt. I'm curious to see what the flavor is going to be like. Next to the Himalayan, we've got Hawaiian Coral. This one has apparently a very good mix with seafood. Next to that is Alder Smoked, which is good with roasted meats, sandwiches, and salads. This is all from the back of the tin. And then finally, we have Hawaiian black salt. And I didn't even know that salt could be this black, but apparently it is. And this is apparently really good with grilled meats. So we've got these different salts here, and I'm going to try them out. Now I was thinking, like, what is a good base? What can you try out salts on to really find out what their flavor brings to the table? So I got myself some tomatoes. They're the kind of thing that you sprinkle some salt on and it kind of, the juices are all extracted and it'll mix in nicely. So let's give this a whirl. Now what I'm going to do is just sprinkle a bit on each of these as I try them out and just see what it's like. So I guess first of all, let's go with a plain tomato just to get the base level going on. All right, I know what a tomato tastes like. Now, same thing with regular old table salt. Yeah, definitely salt of any type accentuates tomatoes quite nicely, and that's very pleasant. Now, let's switch over to the kosher salt. Oh, it is actually quite granular. Yeah, I get why people like to pinch that one. You know, interestingly, I don't really get that strong of a flavor of the kosher salt. It's not bringing out in the tomato what the table salt was bringing out. It's kind of interesting. It's nice, but it's actually not as salty. Okay, well, let's try sea salt. This should be quite overwhelming, I would think. And this is very granular. Wow, you really chew on sea salt. But, interestingly again, it's not that strong. I think these two have almost the same level of saltiness to them. This one's very, very chunky. It's the kind of thing I think you would line your drink. What would you have that on, a Caesar? I don't know. But yeah, that sea salt, I was thinking, oh, it's going to be very sea salty, like, you know, coming out from swimming in the ocean, but it's not. It's actually, it's just a very, very gritty salt like the kosher, but it doesn't actually have that strong of a flavor compared to good old-fashioned table salt. All right, well, let's move on to the slightly more colorized stuff here. Now we're going to try the Brittany Gray, the French stuff. It's about as granular as the kosher. Let's try it out. Not really noticing anything at all. Yeah. Barely any kind of effect at all. All right. Let's go on to the Himalayan pink salt here. Very granular. That's actually, wow. That's really good, actually. There is, first of all, it's very chewy and crunchy, kind of like the sea salt, but it really brings a flavor. I like the Himalayan stuff. That's really good. All right. Next one. Let's just see if I can get this a little more evenly. There we go. Okay, there we go. Hmm. Um, Less gritty than the Himalayan. That's the alder smoked, right? Hawaiian coral. Sorry, it's Hawaiian coral. Yeah, a little less gritty and a little sort of a lighter hint, but it's very pleasant. This one is quite a punch. It's got a strong punch to it. This one is a little more smooth. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Now let's try. We're getting into the dark roast, if you will. This is the alder smoked. Let's give it a good. Oh wow, this is like putting rocks on here. Holy shoot. Okay, there we go. It's like eating rocks too. It's like there's sand in my mouth. That one's got a stronger flavor. We're talking almost like the Himalayan stuff there. It's quite nice. Yeah, I think I'd put these two on par with each other. In fact, of all of the salts, good old-fashioned table salt and the pink one and the almost black stuff are the most, they bring the most to the tomatoes, actually. And finally, the Hawaiian black salt. Let's give this stuff a try. Okay. I'd almost put that with the kosher salt. Like it doesn't really bring a heck of a lot of flavor. It has a grit to it. It's very easy to pinch. But, I don't really notice that strong of a flavor. So, okay, the ones that really do something with the tomato are definitely good old-fashioned table salt, the Himalayan pink, the smoked alder, or the alder smoked, whatever it was called. But sea salt and kosher, almost nothing. Same with the Brittany Gray. And these last two, yeah. I'm really quite surprised. I mean, you think, oh, they're all fancy smancy and all like, they have all these history to them. But honestly, if you can get either the pink or the alder, or if you can't, good old-fashioned table salt. There's still a lot to be said for that one. So there we go. There was a very salty episode, but that goes out to Salt of Petra. And until next time, we'll see you down the rabbit hole.